Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. This is your host, Matt Brown. Hope everyone's having an amazing Tuesday morning heading into today's episode of the podcast. Today, we have another Top 10 Tuesday. Another Top 10 Tuesday. This one's a little different, though. We only have one Top 10 today. As I'm trying to save a little more of the top 10, I'm kind of stretching it out over the next couple of weeks heading into the NFL. I like to do a top 10 or two into some episodes. I only have one today, and then we get into about a couple of topics. So, yeah, today we only have one top 10, and that is the top 10 teams that I think can win the Super Bowl this year. So let's get into it. Number 10, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Again, got that tickle in my throat this morning. I hate when that happens. And he's sitting here coughing all day now. So number 10, I have the 49ers. I think if they can stay healthy, because they're kind of a weird team. If they can stay healthy, that's a team who could be competing to win it all. But that's a lot because the problem is their core players, are extremely injury prone. They really are. And it's not like it was just last year. Okay, they had the injury bug last year. These are players that have had injury problems their whole career and players coming off massive injuries. Christian McCaffrey, this isn't just 1 year, he's dealing with a calf or whatever a little bit. He'll be fine going this year. He has had constant issues his whole career. It's probably going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. Whether or not, if he goes on to win a ring, then, we can talk about that. But as of right now, he wouldn't get in the Hall of Fame just because he hasn't played enough. When he plays, he's outstanding. He's like today's LaDainian Tomlinson, to be honest with you. I think that's a pretty good comparison. And he'd have LaDainian Tomlinson numbers if he'd play. He's just constantly missing 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. And it's been his whole career. And that's just a fact. Especially for the 49ers, they need him. He is an extremely dynamic piece. He's the most important piece of the puzzle for that team. You can say Brock Purdy, and I understand, but Brock Purdy, I'm not as high as other people on Brock Purdy, but I'm also not a Brock Purdy hater like a lot of people. A lot of people do not like Brock Purdy. I think if you were a bad quarterback in the NFL, no matter what roster or what team you play on, you drag the talent down with you. I think playing to the talent is a compliment. I think a lot of people see that as a down thing, like, oh, Brock Purdy just plays to the talent he has around him. That's a struggle for a lot of quarterbacks. A lot of times they drag the talent down with them because they're so bad. I don't think he's that quarterback that if they didn't have great talent, he could rise the talent above him. He can elevate that talent. I don't necessarily know if he's that kind of quarterback. That's, again, Josh Allen, Lamar, those kind of quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes. Those guys, no matter who they have around them, are going to perform. Last year, we've seen it with Brock Purdy. You have guys coming in that aren't necessarily the best players trying to take over for your stars. Again, they can't necessarily go in and take over this guy's spot. I get it. But he just looked extremely average when some of those guys came in. And they still had guys, like good players, playing on that team. It's just tough. We'll see if their talent can stay healthy. This is going to be a team competing for a couple of playoff wins and maybe get to the Super Bowl. Number 9, I have the Washington Commanders, a team I've been teetering on the last couple of days. Especially, I'd really like to see them sign Terry McLaurin. It's getting to a point now, please just sign him so we can all just really know what's going on with the Washington Commanders. If he's not on that team, I do not have this team competing for a Super Bowl at all. He's that kind of player, and he's a player that's going to win you, if he's on your roster, 3 or 4 more games. He really is. He elevates Jane Daniels. He's a security blanket for Jane Daniels, and that's what every quarterback wants. And when a quarterback doesn't have a security blanket, they get very frantic back there. They kind of, you're going to start noticing a lot more mistakes with Jane Daniels. The poise is going to start kind of dwindling down a little bit. He needs to have a security blanket there. Him and Debo, I think, is going to be a very good 1-2 punch. You take him out and just send Debo there, you're going to be like, what in the world is this team doing? Number 8, a surprise team. I have the Denver Broncos. Whether you think I should put them low or not is up to you. I think their roster can compete for a Super Bowl. The only thing is, I'd like to see Bo Nix in the favorite position. We haven't necessarily seen that yet with him. Whether or not he can win in that position is a huge question mark, and we're going to see this year, because I think they're going to be favored to win a playoff game, depending on who they go against. I really do think they're going to be favored to win a playoff game. We'll see. But I think we're going to see some dark horses compete for the Super Bowl this year, to be completely honest with you. I think we're definitely going to have some of those guys or some of these teams, whether it's the Patriots or something. We're going to see a dark horse team. I think one of them could be Denver. Number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers. This is a team, they don't have a lot of stars. Guys, you're going to see in Pro Bowls, they have a lot of really good players, and they're a really good coach. I like this team. I like Jordan Love going into this year, a healthy Jordan Love, that he wasn't necessarily healthy all of last year. I think one thing, the cornerback room could use a little improvement, to be honest with you. I think the only thing that scares me is their secondary. I think you're going to see this team in a lot of shootouts. Parch just won him. So, yeah, I really like the Packers. A lot of people kind of going down on the Packers. They're in a very tough division. They went, 1-5 in the division last year and finished 11-6. That's pretty incredible. They're not going to finish 1-5 again in the division. That's a team historically who's had a very good division record, even though their division hasn't necessarily been the best over the last, 10 years or so. So, but I think this team's going to be competing for a Super Bowl. Number 6, a team I am starting to really fall back on as they're having a brutal training camp, and I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, is the Los Angeles Rams. I'm worrying about this team. They've had some brutal stories going around camp. Once Matt Stafford. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. He's gotten to the Super Bowl, but Jimmy's not Matt Stafford. You have guys like Puka, Devontae. These guys are relying on Matt Stafford out there. And then if Garoppolo is still any good, we've seen him on the Raiders a couple of years ago. Man, he was bad. I get the Raiders organization was bad in general, but Garoppolo looked bad. Devontae Adams had a clip. He's going to get killed playing in Las Vegas with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's looking like it's going full circle for Devontae. They're definitely going to take a drop if they had to start Garoppolo. They'll still be competitive and win games with Garoppolo, but especially with Sean McVay. They'll make it happen. They have a really good team, a really good offense. Garoppolo's a good quarterback. It's a really good backup to have. So we'll see. That's really concerning. They've had a really concerning training camp. I'll talk about that a little more in a couple minutes. Number 5, I have the Bills. I'm not quite as high on the Bills as some people, but it's still saying, no, they're still a top 5 team to win the Super Bowl. So that's not saying much. But in terms of the other 4, I don't quite feel as good about Buffalo. I think Buffalo's had some rough patches in the regular season, and especially in the playoffs. I'll tell you, one thing is, Sean McDermott's seat is a little hot at Buffalo, to be honest with you. I've seen some reports, and it's kind of been like that the last couple of years. They're starting to get tired of falling out in the divisional, the AFC Championship. That's kind of where the Ravens are at as well. They have Super Bowl aspirations. It's enough of, okay, we get to the divisional and the AFC Championship and we flunk out. Let's get to a Super Bowl now. I think Sean McDermott's seat is a little hot. There's some pressure there. But let's see if they can live up to the pressure. Pressure can kill people sometimes, and teams and everything like that. So we'll see. A little worried about Buffalo. Number 4, I have Detroit. Actually, let me go back to Buffalo, because I left off about being worried about Buffalo. Buffalo's fine. They had Josh Allen, but again, little worried with Sean McDermott on the hot seat. Now, number 4, the Detroit Lions. I like the Lions more than most do. A lot of people kind of fallen off on the Lions the last couple of months or so, especially since they lost against the Commanders last year in the playoffs. Lions still have a really good roster. They have a really, really good roster that I like. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson. These are guys that are high-level, all-pro players. All-pro players. Now, Jared Goff, you can maybe take out a discussion for an all-pro, but he's a really good quarterback. I really like Dan Campbell as a coach. The fan base is an extremely loyal and good fan base. When you go to play in Detroit, it's hard to play there, even though they're in the dome. But it's a tough place to play. That fan base is serious there. I really like the Lions. I think what's good for the Lions this year and why I have them higher is because they're kind of sneakily good again. Is that teams are counting them out, so now they kind of have to live up to the noise. I really like them going into this year. Again, I like teams that are sneakily good because no matter what teams say, they're focusing on the Chiefs, or in the NFC, should I say, they're focusing on the Eagles. No one's kind of worried about the Lions. I mean, they're still contenders to most people, but we'll see. I had them at 4. Number 3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Chiefs a lot. A lot of people, again, counting them out. A lot of people count some of these teams out besides 1 and 2, even Buffalo to an extent. I'm really not counting out the Chiefs. And what I mean by that is people are saying the dynasty's over. I could so see them making the Super Bowl again. They always manage to find a way. It's like those Patriots teams. They'll lose players, but as long as they have Brady and Belichick and Gronk, even though Gronk may not be in his prime, same thing with the Chiefs, as long as they have Mahomes, Reed, and Kelsey, even though Kelsey may not be in his prime, team's always going to compete. They're going to be in the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. They're not going to miss the playoffs. I don't want to see these crazy takes out. The Chiefs are finally going to miss the playoffs this year. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Number 2, I have the Eagles. I 1 and 2 you can switch because 1 I have the Ravens. But number 2, the Eagles. Again, one of the best rosters in the NFL. The second best roster in the NFL to me. Guys everywhere. Their offensive line is just a brick wall. Jalen Hurts has turned into be a really good quarterback. Saquon Barkley, of course. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. The only thing that gets in this team's way is health. You can say with any team, as long as they stay healthy, which they should. Their players tend to stay healthy. They'll be fine. They're going to be probably back in the Super Bowl again this year. Then number 1, I have the Ravens, the best roster in the NFL to me. Lamar is just smack dab in his prime. I don't see why this team couldn't go on to win the Super Bowl and win 14 games. I mean, this team can easily do that. The only thing that gets in their way is choking games. They notoriously choke games. They could have had multiple seasons of like 15 wins. So if they choke, that's the only thing that gets in the Ravens' way is the Ravens. Constantly. Is the Ravens get in the Ravens' way. But I had them as my favorite to win the Super Bowl. I think it will change this year. Because again, this is the most important year in their history. If they don't win, there's going to be some massive changes in Baltimore. I can't see those changes happening because I actually think they're going to go on to win it. So I have the Ravens at number 1. That is my Super Bowl list. And we're going to move on to our next topic. That is Matthew Stafford and the Rams' concerns. Kind of what I was talking about a couple minutes ago. Some really bad reports coming out of camp. Stafford yesterday went into it kind of looked like a big gray mobile home. I don't know, it was some acutherapy or something like that for his back. The problem is with Matt Stafford, his whole career, when he has an injury of some sort, especially now that he's older and it's a back injury, injuries nag Matt Stafford. And he plays to him. To his credit, he plays to him, but injuries nag him all season. And this is an injury I can really see nagging him all season. It's nagging him now. He was supposed to be back at practice, and he's not there. He was expected to be back at practice, and he is not practicing. It's worrisome. Because this is a guy who plays through really tough injuries, and he's older now. And it's And I said a couple minutes ago, you throw in Jimmy Garoppolo into that mix, it all changes. I like Garoppolo. I think they're going to win games with Garoppolo. You're not winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo back there. You're not. Matt Stafford's a different level of quarterback. You're talking a guy who's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL to someone who's a backup, who is a top 5 backup. But if you're talking a top 5 backup, then that means he's probably, what is he, bottom 28 in quarterbacks if he were to start, probably. You know, you can't replace Matt Stafford. I hear, well, they have Garoppolo. Garoppolo went to the Super Bowl. Garoppolo went to the Super Bowl 6 years ago. When he was on the Raiders a few years ago, he was putrid back there. He was so bad that there was no consideration even putting him back in for Aiden O'Connell. That's how bad he was. So there are some worries there. That's my concern is just the nagging injury. The back injury is a bad injury to have in the NFL, especially for a quarterback. You're gonna hear he's gonna be week to week all year. He'll play, but he'll be week to week. That's my main concern with the Rams. I hope he can stay healthy because the Rams are gonna be a fun team to watch. Again, they're number 6 on my Super Bowl contending list if he can stay healthy. They're number 6. So we'll see, but I'm concerned. A lot of people are concerned about the Rams right now, and they've had a brutal start to the training camp. So we'll see. My next topic is Joe Flacco. Because yesterday I posted on Shador Sanders. There's so many people high on Joe Flacco, and they were my comments yesterday. Joe Flacco is not saving the Cleveland Browns. There's their best chance to win. No, he's not. He's going to win 5 games all year if he plays. They're going to be chaining him out by week 4 for Shador Sanders. He's not. That's what the Colts were chanting for Joe Flacco. Then they were chanting for Anthony Richardson 3 weeks later because he was terrible. Joe Flacco will go in and show you flashes. If you put him in for a game, you're going to want him to start because he's going to show flashes. But if you have him your starting quarterback, you are cooked. That's what the Browns are going to be, cooked. You might as well see what you have for the future. You're playing for your future at this point. You know, Joe Flacco has built the most overrated career since him coming off of the couch a few years ago. Since the Super Bowl, he's 52-64. 52-64 since the Super Bowl. He had an incredible 5 years to start his career. He had back-to-back seasons of 12-4. He went on to win the Super Bowl. I'm not taking anything away from that. It was 13 years ago. This is not the same player. He's old. He can't move. He's a gunslinger. Yeah, he has a great arm. He's not going to win you football games. Do you really want to watch Joe Flacco go 5-12 when you could go see Shador Sanders grow? Week 1, Joe Flacco is going to be better than Shador Sanders when you're starting quarterback. And I get you want to put in your best chance to win. Over an entire season, you're not going to win more than 5 games with Joe Flacco back there. Why are you messing with it? You might as well just watch your quarterback grow. You have a legitimate chance at a franchise quarterback and you're blowing it. You blew it with Baker Mayfield. You're blowing it again. This is a guy who was going to be a number 1 overall pick. He had bad interviews. A lot of people don't like him because of his attitude. I understand. But we're talking a franchise quarterback. If you're not worried about attitude, you signed a guy in Deshaun Watson who's an absolute creep. You know, don't all of a sudden start worrying about personality now because your organization's not known for it. I had someone say yesterday about how, well, now the Browns will be viewed as a clown organization now if they start Shador Sanders. Bro, they have been for 20 years. My whole lifetime, they've been viewed as a clown organization. This isn't something that's recent. Look at the situation with Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield and everything. And it wasn't Baker's fault, but they just canned him for Deshaun Watson, and look at it. Before that, they were 0-16 like 8 years ago. This organization has been awful. They are a clown organization. This isn't something that they're going to be viewed as it. Bro, they've been viewed as it for 20 years plus. More than that. Longer than I've been alive, they've been a clown organization. They've had a couple good years over the last couple of years. This is not a good organization at all. They're just proving it every day. Joe Flacco is not the saving grace for the Browns like these fans are thinking he is. And I'm not trying to just say like, oh, well, Shador's going to step in and they'll be 10-7. The team's going to lose no matter who they have in there. They don't have a good team. And they're in an extremely hard division, but you might as well see what you got. You're just wasting time with starting Joe Flacco. You really are. I don't know why else he's built this rep as he's going to be a winner in there. He's not. So my last topic today, I have, what are the Jets' hopes going into this season? I think the Jets are going to be competitive, to be honest with you. Now, whether that means they have 6 wins, 7 wins, whatever, they're going to peak out at about 7 wins. They have good players. I do like Justin Fields. They're in a tough, I think the Patriots have surpassed the Jets, to be honest with you, this year. Last year, the Jets had a better roster. New England started up beating them once, but then they got blown out the first time they played them. And then to compete with the Bills a couple times a year. Justin Fields is an extremely inconsistent quarterback. He does have injury problems. I like Sauce Gardner. He was bad last year. He could not tackle to save his life. There's players there, and there's just a big question mark with Aaron Glenn. A lot of it is, can Aaron Glenn coach? I think he can absolutely be a good coach. We'll see, though. It takes time to know with a lot of these guys. There's talent there, but there's not enough talent to surpass them passing 7 wins for me. I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll upset some teams and really shake up the standings for a lot of other teams. But if I'm them, I'd always kind of want to lose, because they're actually close to being a playoff team, as a lot more people think. They've drafted pretty well the last couple of years. I think their offensive line, they've drafted a lot of offensive line, which is not a bad thing at all. I'd like to see them maybe have a solidified quarterback position. Not saying that Justin Fields can't be that, but as of the moment, they don't have a solidified answer. A lot of teams don't. A lot of teams don't get that for a while. But if we're going to talk about them being in the playoffs, stuff like that, I'd like to see it, or see them have a little bit more of an answer at quarterback. So I think the Jets can actually be good, but we'll see. I think they'll be competitive. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll finish around 6-11 or so. And hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing for the Jets. I guess that's better than they were last year. Excuse me. So that's it for the podcast today. Again, tomorrow, Why Not Wednesday? Can't wait for that. I have a lot of questions to answer on Why Not Wednesday. I love answering your guys' questions. I was debating on doing 2 top 10s today. I didn't. That's why this video is a little shorter. This video is getting around 23, 24 minutes or so. So, again, thank you guys for coming out and watching episode 17 of the podcast today. Love having you guys on here like always. It's such a pleasure being able to record for you guys. And you guys in my comments have been going crazy on the TikTok and stuff like that. I love it. That's what I say. I love debates on this channel. So, and keep commenting, keep liking. I love seeing it. And I will see you guys on the next one.